call the meeting to order. I want to welcome our guests. I think this is the most, people who've been here before know this is the most people we've had at a board meeting, I think, since I've been here. So thank you all for coming. And if you don't mind, we'll just start by going around the room and letting everyone introduce themselves, say your name and who you're with.
Jocelyn Williams, Stevenson's Academy.
Kim Song Kim, I work at Celebrate Baseball.
Leslie Kernan, I'm an esthetician independent.
Julio Bello, I'm with Vanguard College of Cosmetology for Baton Rouge Metairie.
Fonda Williams, instructor at Chloe's Beauty School.
Donna Green, instructor at Vanguard Baton Rouge.
Carol Guy, Vanguard Metairie.
Erin Burgett, Education Bureau with Big 11.
Hi, I'm Emily Andrus. I'm an instructor. I don't have a school right now.
Well, we're looking.
Candace LaPointe, cosmetology instructor.
Angela Batarzi with Esther Aesthetics.
Christy Mackovitz, Esther Aesthetics. Sherry Cook, Innovative Skincare Solutions.
Robert Burns, Sound Off, Louisiana.
Mr. Williams, can you give us the invitation, please?
Sure. Dear God, we thank you this morning for bringing us here safely. We ask, Lord, for your traveling grace as we go back to our homes and families. We ask, Lord, that you would bless our chairperson, that you may give us the guidance necessary to deal with the items on the agenda. We ask, Lord, a special blessing on everyone in this room, that you would look at their situation, at their lives, and bless them according to their individual needs. These things we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Ms. Butler, the roll call, please.
Edwin Neal.
Present.
Jill Abear.
Present.
Mella Brown.
Present.
Francis Hand, absent. Kevin Martin.
Present.
Melinda Tilley, absent. Michael Grayson.
Present.
James Williams.
Present.
6 board member present, 2 absent, and there is a quorum.
Thank you. With that, we'd like to hear a motion to accept the revised agenda.
I make that motion.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is accepted. And next, a motion to accept the November 1, 2021 Board of Cosmetology meeting minutes.
I make the motion to accept the board minutes for November the 1st, 2021.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Okay, the first item, Mr. Young, is a, sorry?
No.
Oh, no, the first is a school.
Oh, yeah, you're
We don't want to take it out.
That's classes.
It's the Pat Goins Beauty School matter.
Right, Pat Goins, is asking for a name change and a location change. I will let Debbie, of course, explain what we have here. I think that I'll just tell you that we have received the information we need, and Debbie, if you'll take it at that point.
In the package, you'll see a small floor plan, but here's the bigger one. It's the old Regency that they're purchasing. The name change would be Paul Mitchell Shreveport, if approved, and we're just pending the final inspection, so we want to get preliminary approval pending final inspection. It's okay with you guys.
And they are moving to a location that was formerly Regency, so we've already approved the location. The paperwork is all in on the name change. What the board would need to do is to give a preliminary approval of the name change and address change until we are able to send our inspector out for a final approval. Then it will come before the board again. The final approval.
I move for the temporary approval until the board makes the next visit.
I second.
Are there any questions, comments, anything else?
Usually we do, it's like a pending final inspection. That way we don't come back before the board with it. We just get the final inspection, and if it's okay, we go with it.
Okay.
So unless y'all want to come back before the board, it's up to you guys.
So pending, so can we change the motion then? So the motion would be to approve the name change and the location, subject to final approval.
Yes. inspection, final
Final
inspection.
inspection. Final inspection.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Got that, sorry.
That's even easier.
Can I hear them?
You need another approval?
I need another motion.
I move that we give the approval based on the next inspection,
Second.
final inspection, excuse me.
I second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Okay, Mr. Young, now, the next item is the consent
Yep, that's
judgment. And, Tasha, would you please go ahead and read what the consent agreement is?
Yes, it's for Victoria Mywin. She was a student working at a salon, ASVP Metal Bar in New Orleans. So she was issued a standard fine of $200 and the board cost her $350 for a total of $550.
Hear a motion to approve the consent agreement?
I make that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Young, next on the agenda is our continuing education listing process.
All right, now, folks, you know, we've been talking about continuing education for our inspectors for several meetings now. And I have not gotten a final yes or no from LAX whether or not they're going to be able to ever do another convention. So we are waiting on that, and that is so tenuous, I assume, that we put together, the board said it would be good if instructors could take continuing education for the hours needed online. So Debbie has put together, on the board, from people who have sent this in. If you look, this is my lady, has many, many hours available. Debbie, what was the reason about Pivot Point?
Pivot Point, it didn't have access. We couldn't find it. I don't know if you have to have like a MindTap account or some sort of account with Pivot Point, but we were unable to access it. So I did write that on there. My lady was accessible to anybody. I put how much each class was. I spoke to someone at my lady who we kind of came up with the agreement that if they sent in proof of their payment along with their certificates, that would be the best way. And to do periodic like audits, just random audits, just to keep people on the up and up, make sure it's real.
So did you try calling Pivot Point? Because I know they do provide similar service, and it would just seem to me it would be better if we have more than one vendor.
Well, if you have an account with Pivot Point, you can. But this, I was thinking more towards people who want to become instructors now and they've been out and they're not with a school, they're not going to have access. They're going to be just like us, getting on there trying to find. So, I mean, you can do whatever you want with Pivot Point. However, I did not contact anybody. When they said you needed MindTap, I just said, well, if you have a MindTap, you can get on there and find them. But totally up to you.
What we can do, Mr. Chairman, is that we can contact Pivot Point and ask them if they would make an exception, or if there is some way they would provide for us what would be available.
An account.
Yeah,
an
if they would
account.
just give us an account.
We could log in, or if you guys, y'all have it, you could give us a class.
I sent someone, I can't remember who, Paul Settle's email, who's the point of contact. I had already told the our Paul Mitchell Pivot Point rep that we have, Eleni, that somebody might be able to contact from the board, so that, yeah, it is like kind of a membership thing, but it's unlimited, and it's, I mean, it's hundreds of hours that you can get on Pivot Point. So while you have to pay like one unlimited fee, it's different than my lady where you pay per course. You pay for like a fee for unlimited usage for a certain number of years. And then you get to every course is 2 hours. So instead of the 4 hours per course for my lady, it's 2 hours per course, and it's NACIS accredited on Pivot Point. And then you take 8, you know?
Yeah, it's
And
3
it's
hours with the other one.
Yeah, 3, sorry. But it would be Mindful Teaching Pro is the course that you would
Mindful Teaching.
sign up for.
So if a school pay the money to Pivot Point, and all of the instructors in that school could go on?
Correct. You purchase a seat for educators.
It would be more cost effective. It
Much
sounds
more
like.
It is more cost effective.
Yeah.
So what would you like me to do
I
now?
would like you to, we would, to get in touch with this contact at Pivot Point.
Can y'all be with me
and-
now? Paul Settles?
Yeah, and then let's see what the options are with working with them as well. That said, I think we can go ahead and approve these courses today, and then with the January meeting, we can
Have the pivot.
have it.
Got it.
Mr. Chairman, in the motion, would you like to state that it would be up to the school to pick the hours that they need?
The only problem I have with that's fine if you're in school, but, and you're, teaching in a school, but some of these instructors are not in a school right now, they just wanna get into a school, so they would need to pick their own classes.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
that's my only.
There might be an option to that with Pivot Point when you talk to Paul.
Okay.
Like a class by class option, like you're talking about that My Lady offers. I just don't know about that because we purchased a seat for unlimited access. And Eleni said that if y'all wanted information about that, to contact Paul.
Okay.
But the school still needs to be able, because they know what hours their instructors need, they still need to be able to maybe assign the hours for the year.
So it'll be up to the schools to pick up. The school, if the instructor's out of school, or the instructor themselves, if they're not out of school, to choose which courses they take. That's typical for continuing education. Yes, ma'am?
Is there any way, we do a lot of training, we do trainings every month. Is there any way that we could submit the lesson plans and that of the trainings that we've done? Yeah, like we did for this past year, and get it approved by the board as well,
If it's NAC is approved.
if it's NAC is approved.
What are your thoughts on that?
In-house, is what she's asking.
Yeah, in-house, if it's NAC is approved, and we can, provide all of the paperwork showing what we did, can that be approved?
I think that probably gets away from being a standard.
Okay.
And, just you think about other industries that have continuing education, I've never heard about it being done in-house. It's always done outside. Do you know of any that do it inside?
For everybody to have
I know for the legal profession, it's, if you went to a training at your firm, it wouldn't count. You have to go to an outside training. What about, do you know for the other professions that you work with?
Yeah, most of the continuing education providers go to the licensing board or whoever is in control and get approval of their courses. And then if anybody takes those courses, but there is a lot of training that we can take that's not approved for continuing education hours.
And you also think about for us, administratively for staff have to go through and study all these different classes. I just think this is gonna be an easier solution. Yes, ma'am?
I think the massage therapy, they take it through that there are CEU educators, like they're approved CEU, like through the board. So if people take continued education through that, then those count. So if you actually appoint CEU educators, then whoever's taken through there, then they're approved. They just submit that. It's the same way that we do the microdermabrasion permit. We have to submit that paper to you guys to get that specific permit. So that is an idea which I'm for hands-on training. I don't know that it's a great idea to go everything online. I mean, COVID was not everything, all these schools went online. It wasn't something that was great. So I do think that educators would benefit with being able to do online and hands-on as well. But
That's kind of what I was thinking.
I agree with
There's
this, but everybody doesn't have access.
Like if people miss the live seminar that board has. And we did have a school that came and said, we're going to offer this training, but they opened it to everybody.
Everybody could come and do that, but this is so much.
I think you raise a good point, and if somebody wants to, if there's someone out there who wants to offer live continuing education trainings, I think that's something we would certainly, I'm more making the distinction between just something that's done at the school, which is, yeah, okay.
I'll just tell you, like, I'm that person. I love doing continued education. So, I mean, you have people out there that would love to do that. So as long as the board maybe just looks at what they're teaching, maybe looks at their curriculums, gets that approved, then those people are approved. And I think that you might knock out a lot of things that are negative in our industry as well. Think people doing things that, especially aesthetics, you're kind of like rewarding people for doing something right rather than, I guess, like fining them or whatever for doing something wrong, because when you put a standard on the CEU trainer, then they want to go to those trainers to get the continued ed, if that makes sense. Estheticians as well.
Yeah, I think, so, Mr. Martin, did you want to add something?
No, it's just that all our individuals they're referring to came under LAX.
Yeah.
I understand LAX is out now, but like Mr. Steve said, this kind of simplified things for now, for the time being. Because, I mean, we know our era eventually is going to change. This will always be what it is now. And I think
We can certainly take it at a later meeting.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We're just looking for a temporary solution right now.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And if folks want to submit a proposal to do continuing education live, then we would totally like to see that. I mean, we'd love that. Okay. Okay, so with that, can we go ahead and move to a vote or a motion on approving the current list of classes, with the understanding that we're also going to be looking at additional vendors to provide them?
I make that motion. We approve these online courses for now.
And I second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Excuse me. And in the meantime, Ms. Johnson, you will continue to work with getting through Pivot Point, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll have it for y'all at the next meeting.
That sounds good.
Okay, I think that was unanimous. Were there any nays? Okay, then the motion passes. All right, next is the esthetician practical, and the board member who was kind of championing this unfortunately had an accident last week and could not make the meeting, but I think she's okay, right?
Yeah, just a car that wasn't okay. So you may want to put this up.
Yeah, but I'm guessing that some people are here to talk about it. So, I mean, the person who would lead the discussion is not here, but we did get did you guys distribute this changes to the aesthetics practical? And I was just wondering, if there were any comments on this that we want to hear today before we, in advance of the next time we really are able to pass this.
Just have that one from Sue Birch. You have a copy of it. And there may be some comments today.
Oh, this is from, yeah.
It's on your, I don't know if it's
Guys
gathering. Yeah, that's it.
So who can take us through where we are with the changes to the aesthetics practical?
Keep on.
You're up.
Wow.
What am I doing?
Talking about the aesthetics practical.
Okay, this is definitely gonna be from memory. Aesthetics practical. No, I need the
Do we
sheet.
need to just go ahead and do this in the January meeting?
No,
Okay.
no. You wanna help me, please? Changes to the practical, just to explain them to the people that are here.
Yeah, so we just, the proposal last time was basically for us to remove the makeup portion and add on the lash lift and tint. We just made the proposal, and just to catch everybody up from the last meeting, and we were just waiting on the approval for that. Do I need to go into
For that.
anything more? Just ask me what else
That
anybody.
was the only change that was made? That's proposed? Yeah, I think we're gonna need Ms. Tilly here to really.
No,
take
I
us
can just
through.
run and get our thing from last time.
They did send that out.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I do too.
Waxing was also, we
And
also
the
added the
wax.
waxing, yes.
We added waxing. So, we have a wax procedure, for the brow and lip, the lash lift, facial remains. We removed the makeup, like she said, and skin treatments remained. It would just be questions.
Yeah.
So, we just felt like this is more today as opposed to when the aesthetics practical was done over 20 years ago.
Any questions or comments or discussion on that? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. The order that you were doing the procedure in, per se, like cleanser, warm towel, exfoliation, and then I noticed that on our sheet, it is saying to do the hand and arm massage. And my thing about that was that exfoliation is kind of tricky. Sometimes if the person's skin is not sensitive, then you could do a hand and arm massage while that exfoliant is on there. But then other times you can't. And it also determines the type of exfoliant that you would use, how gentle it is, how strong it is. So I was thinking that maybe not to do an arm and hand massage at that particular time. I actually teach it when we put on the mask to do a hand and arm massage.
The reason why that was switched is when you do when you let that sit, extractions was also added into it. So without steam, you can't extract. So they're going to start asking questions about extractions without steaming, and really the hand and arm is the hand and arm massage is used to allow the steam for the face. So that's what the extraction part. It's sitting for to open up the pores, and that's when you do your extractions.
Yeah.
So they're extractions. That's why that's added like that.
And just to be clear, the service done in the spa may vary widely based upon, whatever the protocols that the spa uses or the salon uses and the particular needs of that guest. So this is just for testing to make sure people know how to do it. That's all.
Right.
Anyone else?
It's more for testing so that people know how to correctly extract. And that, so in your personal practice, if you're gonna do dermaplaning, you're surely not gonna do an arm and hand massage.
Right.
But for this particular, just for testing, it's just for extraction knowledge.
Right. Right.
So does any of the school folks here disagree with what we're proposing on the changes? No?
I wanted to add to the part on the lash part, it's, they're not actually bringing the chemicals or anything like that. They're only simulating that they're doing that tint.
Which
It's
I
just
think
a
is-
simulation, so
Well,
just
I
wanted
love
to
it
add that.
I love it that y'all added that because, the safety issues around the eyes are so important, and we really, I think it's great that we're gonna make sure people know how to do that. So I think that was a good add. So with that, I think yes,
Just a quick question. Is that gonna be done on a mannequin head, or are they gonna bring a live model to simulate?
Right now,
Since it's just simulating-
currently they take models.
Okay.
And
if
I
they're
don't
just
know that
simulating, I
you
don't
can
think
do
need
a
work.
lash, to glue the pads and all that. I'm not sure that you'll be successful doing that on
Okay,
a
so they're
mannequin.
actually gonna use the glue so they can show that they know how to apply it.
I would
That's
say
what I would
yes, they
agree on.
need to.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to clarify, thank you.
So I feel like we should go ahead and, before we do a final approval, is make sure Ms. Tilly is here and she, is good with everything since she was really leading the task force. So, but, so we'll bring this up for final vote at the January meeting. So if anybody has any other comments or questions, please let
And
us
there
know.
aren't any changes, as is.
No, it'll be as is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Is this still to start in June?
I think we're gonna have to push it, the start date a little farther back
Okay.
to give people enough time. What do you think? What would be a reasonable start date?
I mean, I don't have SE yet on my campus, so I'm.
But those of us that do, are we supposed to, this is something
I
we
think we
should
would
put into
start,
our curriculums now.
my guess is we'd start in September, just to get everyone time to get trained up, all
It would have to be, after the board passes the change, it would have to be the next class.
Right.
It could not be anybody in school at the time.
It'll be the next call up.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, good discussion. Thanks, everybody. Next is new business, and first is the board meeting and exam schedule. Does anyone have any comments on any of the, you guys want to take a second to look at it? For me, I have two I would like to move. I'd like to move March 7 to March 14. March 7 is that's the Monday after Mardi Gras, and I know some people will be taking vacations, so.
Take an aspirin.
So I'd like, if possible, I'd like to move that one to Tasha to March 14, and also the May date to make that May 9. If everyone's okay with that.
You said the 7th, March 7th to the 14th?
Yes, sir. March 14 and then May 9. Is that right? Oh my gosh.
Yes, 2nd to the 9th.
Well, folks over there, Mr. Young, are we totally caught up in testing now?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Very much so.
Well done, staff. We had a big backlog. Okay, everyone good with these?
November 14th, why is that board meeting 2 weeks from now?
Right.
November 14th.
We have a holiday on the 8th,
Oh, okay.
so that's why we moved it.
Or is that election day?
Election's always Tuesday.
Right, yeah.
There's something going on that fourth day, the first Monday.
It's a state holiday, it might be,
The 8th is election day. Yeah, the 7th, there's no holiday. The 8th is election day. The 11th is Veterans Day.
you can always move it back to the 7th if you want.
Yeah, I think the 7th is good.
I don't see anything on there. No, there's
Election
no-
is the 8th. I see.
Right.
Yeah, that is correct. The 17th appears to be open.
Yeah, I don't have anything on that.
The 11th is Veterans Day.
The only other thing I would consider, I don't know, I kind of, the July board meeting gets canceled every year. I kind of question why we should have one.
Yeah, we have to.
Okay. Good to see how this July goes.
Summer vacation.
So we're moving up 14 back to the 7th?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or proposed changes or issues with the dates? Do we, hear a motion to approve the 2022 board meeting and exam schedule?
I'll make the motion to approve the board meeting.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Schedule's approved. Mr. Young, the proposed 2022 budget.
Yes, sir. If you will turn to your budget page, it's time for our new budget to be approved so that we can send it to the legislature, the House, and the Senate. If you will, on that budget package here, if you will turn to page 3, we'll just start briefly. Let me go through this now. what we're going to do is again have a standstill budget. I mean, there's nothing that we can really do to change things too much. So what we're looking at, on page 3, you're going to be looking at the means of financing. Now, last year, with COVID, of course, we were not able to test and certainly not able to have as many meetings. And so the income was not quite as high for last year. But now, what we're going to do is to increase the license. Hopefully, the license will increase to 1.7. We will do about 200,000 enforcement actions and about 200,000 in testing, which would be back to our old standard. And we're proposing that would be $2.1 million for the next year. For on page 4, if you look at the expenses, the expense that is going to be more will be the civil service employees' salary increases, should the governor say that they would be allowed increases. We have placed that in the category from 1.571 to 1.674. And if you look, it's going to make something around a 5% total difference between the new budget and last year's budget. You will look to see the prior year actual, the expenses, the actual prior year were 1.658 million, and we're looking at 2.165 for the proposed budget. So we are not going to come to 2.165 because we never, employees quit during the year and then you have changes, but you need to put that in there just in case they vote. Now, if you turn then to page 5, looking at the number of licenses, we're just putting virtually the same number on the number of licenses because that has not substantially changed. The means of financing at the bottom will be 1.7, 200,000, and 200,000. On page 6 of 8, that is just your summary of salaries and your schedule of travel expenses, which are virtually the same. Little increase in the conference and conventions, only the field travel is all. From 65, we're going to 80, and the actual was 53. Operating expenses are very small. They will not change much. And so, Mr. Chairman, we are just looking at a total of a possible 5% increase on the standstill budget.
So there's no budget for repairs, I see.
Well, no. Until if we ever get an increase, unless something absolutely falls in.
Right.
Now, we're in the process, that's covered by insurance.
Okay.
So, we got one bid on the awnings that fell off. It took us 6 weeks to get the second bid because everybody's so busy.
Right.
So this will be probably done by hopefully, by the next time you get in, we'll have a new awning up. But listen, these guys are working 16 hours a day and you just can't get anybody to do anything right now for some reason, so. But we will get it back.
Any questions or comments or discussion around the budget?
But I have to say, we have to thank the administration for the job well done in keeping our budget.
Thank you, Mr.
in
Yeah, well,
success.
listen, I mean, As long as,
It's what you have to work with.
as long as you don't go to the bathroom before the meeting, it's all right, that way we Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, can we hear a motion to approve the budget?
I make the motion that the budget is approved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Budget's approved.
The next, Mr. Chairman, is your fee bill that you may want to talk about this bit.
Ms. Morris, I mean, I don't know, for the people who haven't been here before we discuss the fee bill, we've had, the fees for licenses have been the same since the early 90s. So as you guys know, the price of everything else has gone up, but our fees have stayed the same. So we're looking at, I think the increase proposal was to,
$10.
Last one we had was $10.
so go from 25 to 35. The barbers are 50. So it's still, you know, a very reasonable fee, and as you can, you know, walking around here, and you guys do a great job, but the place is falling, you know, it needs repairs, and we need to be able to pay inspectors to go out and do enforcement, and I know a lot of you feel strongly about that, so I just, you know, I continue to believe it's the right thing to do. Now, there's groups of people who are opposed to government in general, and, you know, fee increases specifically, so I'm sure we'll face opposition in the legislature, but I'd ask the people in the industry who are actually paying the fees, right? So, you know, let your legislators know that this is something that's needed and that we as an industry support it.
So it's been since 1996, since we had an increase. So if you can imagine living on your 1996 budget, or having the legislature have the state live on the budget they passed in 1996, they couldn't do that.
Right. So
you're requesting to refile the same fee bill that we had last time with the $10 increase.
So, any thoughts, discussions around doing that? Please do it. Let's go ahead and do a formal motion to approve the submission of the same fee bill we did last year. So can we hear that motion?
I make that motion. That's the same.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion from anyone here? Does anyone object to us increasing the fees?
Would it be for Cosmo and the teachers?
It would
It'd
be
be for
all the
25.
all the 25.
Okay.
It'd be for all.
Testing fees stay the same in the fee bill.
Yeah, testing fees would have to, not, because the legislature's just not gonna let us change
Right.
on the student. That's the big opposition was on increasing the testing fee, so.
Okay, so any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? The motion passes. And just one more comment on the legislation, because, you know, last year we had submitted something on advanced aesthetics, and I think we've addressed a lot of the issues that was meant to address in the testing changes, so, you know, there's no, I don't see the need for us to do that this year. All right. Rules revision, Mr. Young, why don't you take this?
The board passed revisions for our rules, and these are nothing more than corrections. And what the board passed that had not been made but need to be made in the current rules. This is, if that's correct, is that correct, Ms.
That's correct.
Kiwania? These are nothing but the corrected rules as the board passed it, that
So-
we've gone back. So it really doesn't need to be passed, it just needs to be turned in, and we will give this to Sherry, so that, any other, when we revise the goal book, this needs to be the corrections. It needed to be there, okay?
So no board action necessary?
No, sir.
So what we need to do is prepare a notice of intent, and then the board would approve the notice of intent.
So we can do that in January meeting? Okay, so we'll be sure and get that on the agenda. Other matters, Mr. Young?
No, sir.
There, I think there was one other thing with regard to the enforcement actions and the new attorney.
Oh, well, other than just to say that the new attorney's contract that we have with them has been sent to the Attorney General, and we have not received back the Attorney General's permission for that contract to be given. We're just waiting on them to approve it, and as soon as the Attorney General approves the contract, if the board has approved, the attorney has approved, then hopefully by the next meeting, we will have our new attorney here to meet you and start on the violations, and that's.
Will we be able to set any hearings for the January meeting, or there's?
Well, it just depends.
It's really kind of hard to set them for a January meeting starting now because of all the holidays.
Yeah.
So the notices would go out like February.
February meeting. Okay, good. Is that all, Ms. Young? Ms. Morris?
I don't have anything to add for the administration rules and getting our attorneys on board. I can call the Attorney General's office and see what the status of the contract is.
Is there any, so we have a lot of people here today, is there anything else that we need to be brought before the board today? Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask a question. Now that everything is electronic, I love books because that's what I'm used to, but everyone is used to electronics. And I know your gold book, and forgive me because I'm live in Louisiana and I love y'all. I got to say y'all now. But airdropping the gold book, I noticed that they are better kept when they're on their device than when we hand them a book and that gets all torn up and they throw them all over. And we spend a lot of money on paper as well. I mean, if they request it, is it possible that we can start doing that mobily, and then if they request a hard copy, it's as simple as just printing it?
I mean, you bring up an issue that really goes back to the whole reason why we're looking for a fee increase, is that our computer system is extremely antiquated. And, we need to come into the 21st century with computers. So I think that's I don't know if it's something we could do now, as far as having an electronic copy of the
It's on the website. It is electronic.
Yeah, I know when you do your inspections, that's just last time, that they had to have a hard copy.
Oh, they
okay.
And we would love to just airdrop it to them, because they have it in their hands 24/7. When you give them a hard copy, it's,
We just feel that anybody has it available immediately anymore. Now, the only problem is, when we send in revisions and they reprint it with the state, they have an expense there, and they expect when they print some books, they at least get sold. So they're going to continue to print the books. And I don't know when the state will stop and go print it up, but it's whether or not the board says that they have to have that gold book copy in their hand when all they have to do is press a button and it's available on the computer. I mean,
So it would be a question of us changing our rules, is that what you're saying?
I don't even think you need to change the
It's
rules.
really just to let our inspectors know, is it okay if they just could pull up an electronic copy while they
I don't
do
know
their
what the
inspection?
verbiage says, but I'm working on revisions anyway. I can fix it if y'all want it fixed.
Yeah.
We did that with the salons already.
Salon, yeah, they're supposed to have a copy, but like he said, everybody has a phone, has a copy at this point, so totally up to you guys.
I can work on the verbiage.
Yeah, because when they came in, they were looking for everybody that, and we have them in the libraries, the classroom, and everybody has them, but as you know, the students, like I kept my book bag in high school. With the mess could be. So, but electronically, every time you ask them a question, that's what they whip out, and they can whip it out like that.
Let's put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
And that's why I love the fact, I know you guys have to increase, there's no objection to that. We have to get, money to do things. And if that's, what do you call it, what we have to do to do these things electronically.
It doesn't sound, it sounds like we could do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll put it on the agenda for the January.
We can just add it to the next section of rule revisions. Yeah.
You just add it to this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Also, I needed to ask something concerning Cosmo. I noticed that you changed, you added the natural hair, kinky hair.
Yeah, you want to explain what we did, because it was very narrow what we did, if you want to.
all we did was, well, what we did was, we went on and we took an approach of what the way society is today and the diversity that's in society as a whole is giving students an advantage of learning how to cut curly hair / natural, not just natural, but curly hair as a whole. Next board meeting, we're planning on doing a presentation on how to, and what the expectations is, what the scores is going to be, and what the examiners are going to be looking for, and that's going to be presented at our next board meeting.
So basically a testing package.
Repeat it again.
I see, so basically it'll have a testing package.
Yes, that is correct. Whole testing package, and for the people who are not aware on how to, we'll demo on how to do it. That it won't come into effect till what we said June 22. But in the meantime, it'll give enough instructors, school owners, to get advance on it. Because I mean, curly hair is in the section of haircutting in everybody's book. But it's very few people that really know how to execute it. And it's time out for people going anywhere and say, okay, I need to get curly hair cut. But a student been out of school 10, 15 years, or a student been out of school 10, 15 months saying, I don't know how to do it because it was never taught.
Because I will say this, I've been trying to implement the fact of trying to cut the curly hair, rolling it on the perm rod, and it's very complicated.
I'll show you. It's simple.
Yeah.
It's simple.
And what I'm saying is that once you take the roller down and try to cut a straight line, that tension has to be perfect in order to get that straight line.
Well, the key to cutting curly hair is you cut it without tension.
Right.
That's the key. That's the number one thing. You cut it without tension, because if you cut it with tension and you happen to straighten it, you don't have an accurate cut.
Right.
But a lot of people are not aware of that. And the key to it is you take your finger and you coil that hair around your finger and you cut it right there.
Okay.
I mean, we'll have it, and then we'll also have a tutorial on how to. And we're willing to support the entire industry in taking this particular training to the next level.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Your next one.
So, being that I've been in the industry over 30 years and stuff, and then also we do teaching texture cutting.
Of course.
My concern with the curly and textured hair is, you know, depending on the curl pattern is how we cut the hair, whether it be wet or dry. You know, most of the time if it's real kinky, we tend to blow it out a little bit to cut it without the tension, get a more accurate cut. So my concern is that when we get ready to test, will there be a set guideline on how the mannequin is going to be?
Yes, we will have all of that. And remember, you did talk about, and we do know that's almost 27 different type of textures of curly hair. But we're going to do a fundamental approach to students. And then when you get into the industry, you start coming into so many diverse of textures. I mean, there you start taking your education to another level of how to approach that texture. But the basic fundamental approach to cutting curly hair is all we're asking for. Just an understanding, a working knowledge. Do the student have a working knowledge of how to approach that? And we're going to have all
Will
the
this take the
January.
place of the full haircut or?
No, ma'am, it's going to be only in that perm section. It's going to be executed in less than 10 minutes.
Okay, so from my understanding, which I think is great, by the way, that you're getting that inclusive dial, is just dialing up, because hair is formation, it's not skin color.
Say that
Yeah, hair is formation, not skin color, and we got to get it right in the verbiage too, because also in the board, the verbiage of kinky hair is very offensive, derogatory, and it could cause a lot of lawsuits. It's either straight, wavy, curly, or excessively curly. Fine, medium, of course.
I'll help you with that. Kinky hair is not as much as you would say, because it is used in, when you go to Milady Black Hair Cosmetology, there is a book, if somebody still have it, because I have it. But it is, the word that is very offensive is nappy hair.
Yes.
That's the word that's offensive. Excessive curly hair is an acceptable term. Nappy is nowhere around in our book. That's the offensive.
Okay, because I know there's been a couple salons that have been sued for using the term kinky.
That's a universal term.
So, yeah, it is a universal term, and it's a term that we grew up with as well. But since it's changed, I don't know, because you get such a controversy over that, I don't know if that is
Yeah, what's-
something that we have to visit as we go down, but I love the fact we've been including multicultural hair, very curly hair in our schools for over 15 years, because when you gotta cut hair, you cut every formation of hair, not skin color. So, and they, you know, every culture has curly hair, you know, and that's why the relaxer, so I applaud you on that, for bringing that in. And I understand that the mannequins are, you do a section and you permit, but I believe, are you gonna start adding a curly mannequin, or?
No, sir.
No, you're not gonna, so you're just
No,
gonna,
sir.
so we don't have to put that in the state board
No,
yet?
sir.
Okay.
No additional expenses for purchasing a curly mannequin. It's going to be the same rod pattern that was used previously for many years for testing. The student will take, the only difference is the student will come in with that particular rod placement in place, take the rods down, and execute the technique of an understanding of knowing how to approach to cut curly hair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's not like to change the kit now, because I ordered
No, sir.
the state board kids got curly hair.
Anyone else? Anyone else on the?
So they're taking away the perm section?
No, we're not taking away the perm section. The only thing is very similar to the roller set comb out. The perm section is going to be done at the school. The student is going to place it on base. It's going to be in place. Student will come in with it placed and dried, just like the roller set. Take it down and execute the technique.
Right now, it's half base.
That is what I meant, I'm sorry,
So instead of
half
it-
off.
yeah, Cause I know
That is
at one
correct.
time it was on base,
It's
and I just
half
wanted
off,
to make sure.
that is correct, you are correct. Thank you for correcting.
Yes.
Are we still considering a full head in long term? Okay, I
Yeah,
just wanna
I
make
mean, it's
sure.
something, I mean, you just heard the issue right there, you know, adding another mannequin to the kit is gonna be expensive for everybody, and that part, I think we wanna, let's do this, let's spend some time thinking through how we incorporate styling textured hair,
Right.
if that's something we can do, and I think that's step 2.
Mannequin heads are hard to get now anyways.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, bought 'em all up.
Exactly. Who else? Any more comments? Yes, Mr. Young?
No, my only comment is on this change. This change is so small
Yes, sir.
that you're not even gonna notice the difference when you're coming in to do the, I mean, this is a extremely small change, just one section, and that's it. And so, teaching, doing the practical, and it's not gonna be anything at all.
I want to add one thing. It's a small change, but it will revolutionize our industry.
Absolutely.
And it'll bring our industry to where we are right now as a society. Because this is a universal revolutionary change. The young gentleman stated something, and when you open that texture, it states that immediately in any one of the books, excessive curly, always says curly hair existed always. So what's the use, that's the approach of having that particular individual sit in and someone will not know how to approach that. Even if it's just let's say in the rear part of that person's hair, the mid part, the occipital part, the side, whatever that curly hair is, how will I approach it? And it's just giving students an advantage
No, I
for where we are.
I want to thank you, Mr. Martin, for your work in developing this, and to
No, that's-
Keelan,
that's our baby.
thank you so much. I mean, I'm really proud of us being the first state to implement this. It's a big deal. Thank you.
It's getting a lot of attention.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's, I think it's great that y'all bringing in some people to show us, you know, how to do that, because that's, I think, was our question.
Right.
You know, are we gonna know what the testers are gonna look for?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that's great that you're doing that.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Anyone else, anything else? Okay. With that, can someone make a motion
I
to
have
adjourn?
one thing
Oh, yes,
I'd
sir.
like to say, and that's probably can help Deborah. I've been getting quite a bit of calls of people people having difficulties getting online, getting to the website.
Yeah.
I got quite a bit of calls.
You mean to pay or just period?
Period, just get to the website. And last night, I made 5 attempts and I couldn't get on.
That's a William Bunch situation, but I will let him know.
Thank you.
And again, it goes back to our antiquated computer system.
Yeah,
so.
so.
Ms. Brown, were you about to make a motion to adjourn?
I was about to.
And I second
I make that motion. I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.